Hello everybody and welcome. We are going to be talking today about what? We are going to be talking today about
Fall 2020.
That's right.
Fall 2020
is going to be crazy. It is. It's just how it's going to be. But here are my expectations for what should happen in the classroom. Now, if you're watching this, the first portion of this video is going to pertain to all of the classes that I'm teaching. The second portion, when we talk about weeks 4 through 15, that really is only going to pertain to ESG 455, and here's the reason why. There are more students there. So let me start off by saying the general plan is that weeks 1 through 3 are going to be completely online, like the end of spring semester, and we'll talk more about that later. But weeks 4 through 15 are going to be broadcast mode for ESG 455 and not so for MET 213 or ESG 435 or ESG 430. Sorry, I forgot which classes I was teaching this fall for a second. I'm really excited to get back into the classroom with y'all. But first, let's go over some of these expectations. So here are Dr. D's expectations for fall 2020. One sec, everybody. OBS is the best. All right. So what's the breakdown? We kind of went over this a smidge earlier. Weeks 1 through 3 online, right? Same way that we ended spring 2020, right? So what does this mean? We'll get more into this in the second, but this is the general schedule, right? Weeks 4 through 15 are broadcast, right? So half of you will come to class during one session. So if class meets on Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, half of you will come on either Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and half of you will come on Thursday or Friday. How is that decided? It will be assigned. We'll talk more about it in a minute. During the broadcast section, I will also be broadcasting my lectures via Zoom. We will have classes on Veterans Day, but we won't have classes on Thanksgiving or the day after, but we do have classes the beginning of that week. Thanks, COVID. Wah, 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 wah. Thanks, COVID. All right, enough of the fun and games. So that's the general schedule, right? Weeks 1 through 3, what are my expectations? Well, very first and foremost, you are going to show up to class ready to learn. What does class look like? Well, it's going to be held via Zoom. Where do you get the link for that? It's going to be in LoudCloud. Okay, it's going to be in LoudCloud. So you're going to want to make sure that the first 3 weeks you're checking with LoudCloud pretty much for all of our announcements. I also have Discord servers set up for all of my classes, and those links are also in LoudCloud as well. This is going to be very similar. In fact, it is going to be so similar that it is the same as what you're used to from the end of spring. Well, I can't say it's the same. It's similar. Everybody's got their own different style and quirks when it comes down to this, right? So weeks 1 through 3. Now, in week 4, the end of week 3, you need to be moving back to campus if you are in fact coming back to campus. If you are taking MET 213, if you're taking ESG 430 or ESG 435, when we get back to campus, that's it. The classes are small enough that we can all meet at the allotted times in person. So we don't need to worry about the next part of the video. So if you're in MET 213, ESG 430, or ESG 435, don't worry about the rest of this video. You can stop watching here. And you can put your comments or questions in the comments. Boom, drop a like. Probably not though, I'm guessing. Drop a dislike, whatever you like. I don't care. I don't care about that. Okay. So what now? All right. So it's pretty clear. And again, we are going to go over this more in depth on the first day of class. I will go over and reiterate these expectations and really hone in on the things that I want. But I wanted to give you a heads up if you're watching this early. So let's go over a little bit of Zoom etiquette, right? Number one, you want to mute yourself when you get into class. Zoom etiquette is going to be really important the first 3 weeks, and if you're in ESG 455, the remaining 12 weeks as well. So Zoom etiquette, right? Mute yourself when you get into class. Now, on the off chance that I forgot to set the meeting up so that it doesn't auto-mute you, make sure you mute yourself when you get into class, right? I expect you to have your camera turned on. I need to see that you're there. I've been burned before, people. You cannot expect to get participation for class if you're sitting there with class on mute playing Xbox or PS4 or whatever, your Steam, right? That's not how it works. You need to have your camera on, which means that you need to get dressed. Okay, you need to get dressed with actual clothes. Yeah, I am the worst. I know, I'm so mean. So mean, right? Like I said, if your camera's off, you won't get participation, and that is point blank, end of story, no negotiation. Okay. I expect you guys to use chat to ask questions. If there's not a pause in the lecture, I do stop and ask you if you have questions. That's fine. I promise I will check chat as often as humanly possible while trying to teach you guys. Just be patient with me. We'll get all your questions answered, I promise. I expect you guys to answer questions by unmuting, right? So if I answer your question, or if I ask you a question, right, you can unmute and respond. And I expect you guys to not be rude, right? That's just in general. Just don't be rude. Okay. So we're out of weeks 1 through 3. We are now into broadcast, which is weeks 4 through 15. Already talked about this. Class will occur 2 days a week, right? All classes are now either Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. I don't know why I always start with Wednesday, Friday. It's weird. Probably because it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Anyway, doesn't matter. That's all aside, right? So we've got class that occurs 2 days a week, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. It's not a typo. It's a joke because, it's WF or TR, so it's not really Thursday. I realize it's not Thursday, it's Thursday. Okay.
Don't worry, I get it. I know it's not Thursday.
All right, so you're going to show up in person the day that you are assigned to show up. What if you try to come on a day that is not the day that you were assigned? Don't, because I have to tell you to go home, because we are following the social distance guidelines for classrooms. All classrooms are being kept at half capacity now. On the day that you are not assigned to come in person, right, so when you're not in the classroom, you will watch via Zoom, right? I'm going to broadcast my lecture via Zoom. We're going to use the same link that we used for the first 3 weeks. All right, we already covered this. Can you come to the class on the day that you're not assigned? No, all classrooms are being kept at half capacity as per CDC guidelines. When you're in class, I expect you to, right, so on the days that you come into class, you are expected to wear a mask or a face shield. This is non-negotiable. If you don't have one, you will be asked to leave and retrieve one. If you don't leave, I am going to be forced to call public safety and file a code of conduct violation on you. Now, that seems harsh, right? But that is what we as instructors, as the professors, were told to do. We're being very strict about this. Make sure that you have your face mask or your face shield. I will not have extra masks or face shields. I will have mine, and that is it. I expect you to socially distance, right? So don't all sit at the same table on the day that you come into class. You need to spread out. This is going to be probably 2 people per table, right? 2 people per table. I expect you to be prepared to learn, right? This means have your text, have your computer, have your calculator, your pen, your pencil, your notebook, whatever. I expect you to participate, right? So if you're in class, I expect you to participate. You're going to engage with me and each other in a respectful manner, right? That's pretty straightforward. There's something that's not on here. When you come to class, and this is something that I do that other professors don't, you're going to leave your phone in the shoe hanger on the door. We'll talk more about that on day 1 of actual class. But if you are in class, you're not allowed to have your phone with you. You have to keep it on the door, and that's just one of my personal rules to get you guys to focus more during class. All right, so during this time period, if you're online, what are you supposed to do, right? What do you expect? All right, when you are attending via Zoom, I expect you to be prepared to learn, right? So you're going to have your text, your computer, your calculator, pen, pencil, or notebook, right? Great. So you got to take notes, right? You have to participate either via chat or by unmuting to answer questions. Now, we'll talk about this also on the actual first day of class, but what is considered participation in chat and what is not, right? You having a conversation with your buddy about how many people, what your KD in Fortnite is not participating in class. I expect you to engage with me and each other in a respectful manner and to follow the Zoom etiquette that we discussed, right? So far, pretty straightforward, I think. Okay, so the late policy, right? All assignments are due before midnight, Arizona time, on the due dates indicated. Assignments posted after the indicated due dates will be subject to a deduction of 10% of the available points for each day late. No assignment can be accepted for grading after midnight on the final day of class. Technical issues are not valid excuses for late work unless the problem stems from GCU servers. And you'll see I broke off this last sentence because this last sentence is one that every student forgets to read. Exceptions to this policy are at the discretion of the instructor, right? And that's really important here, right? And I got this from the Grand Canyon University Policy Handbook, page 28, right? And I've highlighted this because this is the crux of things, because I do not accept work that is late based on the 10% deduction per day late. How do I? Well, in the past, I just didn't accept late work. I have since amended my late policy, right? I've amended my late policy. So what does it look like now? I'm glad you asked. Here is my late policy. You will notice that the y-axis has your highest possible grade as a percentage, and the x-axis has your time of submission in hours. Now 0 means that you turned it in at 11:59 on the day it was due. You turned it in right at the deadline, right? Okay. 1 means you turned it in 1 hour late. 2 is 2 hours late. So you can see there's this exponential decay, and here is the curve is y, right, is equal to 100 e to the negative 2t. It's a decaying exponential. Hopefully you remember what that means from differential equations. Right, so you can see that if you turn this in a half hour late, you have lost how much? Basically 37% of your grade. Right? So the maximum grade that you can get turning it in half an hour late is 37% of what the total is. The maximum grade that you can get turning it in an hour late is 13% or 14%, right? And you'll see once you get out here, right, you're 5 hours late, 4 hours late, you're not really getting any return. Really, 2 hours late, right? So what's the point, right? Originally I used to not accept late work, and the reason that I would not accept late work is because that's more realistic to the real world. Your boss will ask you to do something, it will be due on a day. You have a client that wants something done on a day, and if you go late, they don't care, right? But what I've done is I've amended that slightly, and so you have a little bit of grace in there, right? So if you turn something in a few minutes late, right, whatever that percentage of the hour is, you're still okay, right? If you're like 15 minutes late, right, so this is 30 minutes, this would be 15, right? You're still around 65%, right? So if you're like 10 minutes late, you're around 80, okay? So it doesn't penalize you for being a little bit late, but there's not a lot of window here, okay? There's not. Okay, so hopefully that answered some of your questions. If you have any more questions, if you happen to be watching this, whether you're going to be in ESG 455, ESG 430, ESG 435, or MET 213 in the fall, if you're watching this regardless, just because I had you in ESG 360 or ESG 455 in the past, right? Leave questions that you might have. I will be more than happy to answer them to the best of my ability, right? Okay. So that's it. That's it for me. I hope you guys are having a great summer. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in about a month from now. And yeah, stay safe, stay healthy. Take care.